But before that, let me start you off with China and Taiwan and India. What is this news I'm hearing about? We are going to retreat from Ladakh lines, but we are going to announce that PLA
So
hit
this is
that.
just preemptive nonsense. So, these people, they keep coming up, these propagandists, they keep coming with preemptive stories. Okay.
There's nothing to
So,
that effect.
there's nothing that we know of to that effect. It could also be true. Okay. The problem is I can literally preempt policy if I'm going to start prediction. Like what you see is that there is a understanding that Doklam became a reverse for us. What we won on the battlefield, not really a battlefield, a staring field or a standoff field, we gave up in Wuhan.
We gave up in Wuhan?
We gave up in Wuhan during the Wuhan summit between Modi and Xi Jinping. Because after that, we didn't have what we had won based on standing off against the Chinese at Doklam, we gave away in Wuhan because there was no stomach to stare them down anymore, because we sacrificed our position at the altar of good relations. We gave up tangibles in return for intangibles, which is the worst thing. Like Israeli-Palestinian land for peace, it never works. This time there is the belief that this is not going to happen, which is what makes this story highly unlikely. On the other hand, given that this government has learned nothing from its economic policies and keeps repeating the same mistakes over and over again, not looking at second order effects, third order effects, even in Kashmir. I mean, it's not just economic policy, it's also security policy. झटका कर दिया, 370 निकाल दिया, उसके बाद जो deconflicting of the economy करना था, the decriminalization of society and the deconflicting of the economy, finding a new political class, all of that isn't happening. You're going back to the old people, the old power brokers, the same bloody terrorist leaders and all of that. So, I mean, you're basically intersectional cross-governmental incompetence. You can't rule out incompetence. But from what I know, people knew that they got taken for a ride in Doklam at Wuhan. And there is a belief that it isn't going to happen. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Right. Well, have you been improving the relationships with Taiwan? I heard something.
No, not really. See, Taiwan is on a publicity blitz. The problem with Indian diplomacy is it is so compromised to China. Through commercial dealings and sometimes even honey traps, apparently. That's what the Taiwanese...
See, you tell me that and I'm like, that's wild.
But, our counterintelligence is terrible. If the only Chinese spy you can find in Delhi is a journalist, a non-accredited freelance journalist who has written for 6-7 different publications, it really shows you how trashy your counterintelligence is. Or maybe how compromised it is.
And that could not be because there are no Chinese spies in Delhi. That's not possible.
You really think there are no Chinese spies?
No, I mean, I'll be reasonable. I definitely think there would be.
Well, that's the point. Why haven't you been able to get them? Right. So maybe if they spent more time in actually doing proper counterintelligence instead of stupid sedition cases without any proof, where they throw people up in jail for 1 year just looking for proof and not finding any proof and then having to concoct proof.
Right. Is it? Please go ahead. I'll ask you the question later.
They would actually then do something. The problem is your standards on your diplomats posted in Beijing, returning from Beijing, going to Beijing are very lax. There is genuine concern, and this isn't just a Taiwanese concern. I've heard this from the Americans, I've heard this from the Japanese, I've heard this from the Swedes and the French, that our operational security is extremely lax. We're far too penetrated for their own good, for our own good. And one of the main reasons they don't give us technology is that they claim that they just don't trust our operational security measures, be it in terms of personnel or be it in terms of technology and processes. Okay. So, this is one, but I mean, we're reading too much into the compromise thing. There is also plain incompetence, Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice what you can do.
Stupidity.
Incompetence to stupidity. Which is that we use the Dalai Lama, Tibet, and Taiwan as pinprick tools. Right? We use them and we throw them away when we don't need them. We don't look at them as assets, but this is our intelligence thing throughout. The way, Morarji Desai discarded all our assets in Pakistan. Then I.K. Gujral goes and does the same thing.
Huh.
then Doval doesn't the same thing all over again.
Disposed our assets in Pakistan.
Disposed or disinvested.
Why?
With Morarji, we're no longer engaging with you. With IK Gujral again, we're no longer engaging with you. With Doval again, we're no longer engaging with you. In
Why?
Balochistan, the entire Balochistan insurgency, it's a technical flaw in the Indian mind. I don't know. It's this belief, and this is the most dangerous thing about all of this is that individuals are still able to impose their will over institutional interests.
Huh.
Okay, it shows you what a primitive society we are, how primitive and crude and feudal and pre-industrial our systems, our institutional systems of governance are. And it's a very, very dangerous thing. On one hand, it's also a good thing when you want to implement change, but not a good thing when it's stupid policy, when you're trading intangibles for tangibles. Intelligence is a tangible, and insurgency is a tangible. Peace is an intangible. Okay, so Taiwan will be used. All you're doing is opening talks on a free trade. This thing. Taiwan has a whole gold mine of electronic intelligence and human intelligence on China. Are you doing any of that? No. Are you preventing your students from going to China and instead go to Taiwan to learn Chinese? No. So what are you actually doing? This is all, there's nothing actually in Indian foreign policy. Okay. Indian diplomats, the MEA is at best an event management agency. Okay. Think of a very glamorous event management agency with good access. That's about it. That is all they're realistically capable of. Rest of it is just tamasha, so there's nothing really happening with Taiwan per se. She may become Ingwen Tsai Ingwen. I'm so sorry, I forget the name. I keep getting confused. And I don't know why. It always happens with 3-syllable Taiwanese names, and always with the Taiwanese president. Is the most popular internet personality in India. But see, that's a trend. That's a fad. That isn't institutional engagement.
Right.
Which you need to start doing. But it's not happening. So it's sad, but it shows you how clumsy Indian foreign policy actually is.
Yeah, I wonder very often if China has the balls to openly undermine, and this is not even a contest of balls. It's just like the enemies on the face. They undermine our sovereignty when it comes to Arunachal, to Ladakh, to whatnot and what forth. How is it that we can house the Dalai Lama, claim that he was expelled from Tibet, but not call Tibet? Why is that not Indo-Tibetan border? Why do we at least like linguistically not begin to do something like that?
Well, I mean, this you have to ask Nehru and Rajiv Gandhi and Vajpayee. Remember, this whole acceptance of Tibet being a part of China was put in motion by Rajiv Gandhi, but implemented by Vajpayee. And we didn't even get the commitment that Arunachal is a part of India in return. So why is it? I think this is something people really have to ponder. Why is it that every single time you give up your bargaining tools with China, 70 years running and continuing even today, right up to Doklam? If you come to the conclusion, there are only three conclusions to be had: incompetence, compromise, or a mix of the two. And if your political leadership still hasn't understood that, make a fool of me once, shame on you; make a fool of me twice, shame on me. So I'm not blaming the Chinese for this, I'm blaming us. Look, I never blame other people for our mistakes. It's very easy to blame Pakistan, China, but we need to introspect and look within ourselves. The fault, what is that Hindi song? दूसरों के जय से पहले खुद को जय करे. ऐसे कुछ है ना? हमको मन की
शक्ति देना. Right. We're fond of intangibles like man ki shakti.
We love that kind of nonsense.
Right, because that just removes everything that is immediate, proximate.
We don't really export anything tangible. Yoga, tandoori chicken. Well, tandoori chicken at least is a tangible.
Right.
ठीक है, soft power. So, it's just crap.